Welcome back to Why Not Me? I'm Mike Jackson, your host. I'm a producer and partner at Get Lifted Film Co. And today our guest is my little bro, guy I love so much. You may know him from Waves, MLK, a little movie he did at Netflix called Monster. His name is Kelvin Harrison Jr., and he's absolutely one of my favorite people. He's got a pure heart and a pure soul. He's truly an artist. And I'm so excited to have him sit down and talk with me so that we can share that conversation with you. So I hope you enjoy the talk. Stay tuned. We're coming for you. Dude, thank you for saying yes to being a guest on my Why Not Me podcast. I really appreciate it, man.
I appreciate you asking me.
You know how I feel about you. Like, I literally look at you like a little bro. I know your mom and your dad. So that's where I kind of want to start, is like where we always start with, just the origin story. Born in Louisiana. Tell me, like, your birthday, when you were born, just talk to me about your parents a little bit.
So I'm from New Orleans, Louisiana, and I was born July 1994.
Cancer baby?
23rd. I'm a Leo, first day of the Leos.
Oh, shit. All right.
23rd. Yeah, my parents my parents were musicians. So my mom, she was a jazz vocalist, and she also
Shirlita.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, that's how she says it at least. But I feel like her mom said Shirlita.
That's what I said.
Yeah. Yeah, she did that, and my dad was a classically trained saxophonist and ended up becoming like a jazz musician. And so jazz was blaring through the house 24/7. And
only child?
I have twin sisters that are 4 years younger than me.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's us three, us five.
Tell me about your sisters. What are their names? Tell me a little bit about them.
Kaylin is a nurse now, and she still lives in New Orleans, and Cortland is in the Air Force in England.
Oh my God.
Yeah, they're very different.
Very different, but very cool. So how is the relationship with your family? How did it inform your journey early on? Like, I assume, like, you know, you're coming from an artistic family, your parents are both musicians. Did you know at an early age that the arts were like it for you?
I mean, I always was surrounded by arts. Like in our family, it's like my grandfather was a Mardi Gras Indian. You know, his brother was the big chief. Mm-hmm. You know, my cousins all played instruments, whether it was like the drums or, you know, the trumpet or, you know, whatever it was. Everybody was a musician. And on my mom's side, everyone was a musician in the church. So everyone was in the choir. Everyone was doing something artistic. And for my dad, it was immediate when it was just like, okay, well, we're listening to Charlie Parker today. We listened to John Coltrane. We listened to Sarah Vaughan. Check out this like crazy lick that Ella Fitzgerald was doing, you know, Miles Davis, you know what I'm saying? And then it was like on the gospel side, Yolanda Adams, Kirk Franklin, you know what I mean? Like so many of those cats, and that's all we did. So I was performing since I was like 4, but it was like doing musicals in the living room with my saxophone and my keyboard.
But what about, did you ever perform in the church?
Oh, yeah. I started when I was 11, I believe. My feet couldn't even touch the floor, my mom would say. And I was the keyboardist at the church until I was 21. Until I met you.
I knew that you tickled the keys.
I quit when I started working with you. to change
did John Legend intimidate you? Did he scare you off the keys?
Oh my God, are you kidding me? First of all, and I've never said this, like so intimidated, so excited. Like that dude was like, I was like, that's who I'm trying to be. That's who I'm trying to be. Like, that's what I want to sound like. That's how I'm trying to play. I used to cover the songs, like Graduation, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh my God. I feel like I use ordinary people to try to get into college.
That's crazy, dude. And now you can call him. Now that's your guy.
That's so crazy. Yeah.
Life is wild really like that, right?
Yeah.
Did you like performing in the church? Did you feel like that energy? You know what I mean?
I loved it because there's something I personally feel that doing music in the church, at the right churches at least, there's something so pure about it. It's something so selfless. And it's this everyone's playing, whether or not, even in the choir, because we also were in a lot of choirs where the singers couldn't sing. Right. And my mom was the choir director, and my dad was also the saxophonist. So it was very much like choir rehearsal and then go home and choir rehearsal for another 4 days.
You can't embarrass your parents, bro.
You can't embarrass your parents. So we would be ripping through some of the choir members, being like, who needs to do better on what parts? But it's when it's like it truly. I felt like we encapsulated the meaning of a joyful noise.
Okay, joyful noise. I always said.
Yeah, because there was so much joy and purity in it, and just like freedom to just express. But it didn't always sound good.
All right. So how did that? You're young. You're with your family in the church. You're singing gospel, you're jazz, all that stuff. As you're aging, you start going to school. Are you in mostly like public schools in the city? I know you ended up at a private school, but like tell me that like journey to the private school. Like where did it start?
It was like off and on. Like I went to a lot of schools. Like I don't know why I went to so many schools, but I started off in like a private elementary or a preschool or whatever, and then I switched to like a Christian school. Then I went to a public school and for like a year, and then we went to another public school, and then Katrina happened, and my dad taught like an hour away from where we went to school, and so because he had to go back to work, he was like with everything within the city because we lived in New Orleans proper. Being kind of destroyed. The schools hadn't really come back, and the way kids were displaced, it was kind of tough. So he brought us to school with him in St. Charles Parish at this school called Cammon, and my sisters went to this school called St. Rose Elementary School. And then from there, we went and left, and we went to the Little Red Schoolhouse where like Trombone Shorty and 12 and all those cats came out of, in the middle of the French Quarter. And we did that for like 3 years. And then I finally went to the very, very private and elite Isidore Newman School.
That's
where the
what I'm talking
mayonnaise
about.
came from, and Odell Beckham. And, you know.
You knew Odell, though, in high school. Y'all were classmates, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Same year?
He was funny. And no, he was a year above me. But he like, because, you know, it was such a small community of Black folks that he just immediately, when he saw me, he was like, like, let me just put you on real quick.
Are y'all still cool?
Oh, absolutely. I saw him at his birthday the other day, like a few weeks ago, and he was so funny. He comes up to me every single time, dog, and he says the same thing, which is, it's really sweet, but it also makes me laugh. He's like, we the ones that made it out.
I was about to add, that was my next question. Other than the Mannings, who else looks like us made it out of Newman? Is it?
Man, it's me and Odell. I don't know a lot of cats that came out of the school that were, you know, Black that, you know, ended up doing something different, other than just kind of taking on a family business or something like that.
They're more traditional route.
Yeah.
All right. So you're in Newman. You're having all these wonderful experiences. You graduate. I think you told me back in the day you went to like 1 or 2 different colleges in Louisiana at some point.
Yeah. I first applied to, I ended up going to Loyola University in New Orleans. My first major was studio engineering, or like music and music industry studies, because I was kind of scared to continue trying to do music. I was like, all right, well, I don't think I'm gifted enough in that department, so let me not try to keep up with, you know, my parents' expectations of how that should go, and just try to shift and go behind the scenes. And then after like a semester, I was like, this ain't it. So I switched to marketing because I was like getting nervous that I wasn't going to find a job and whatnot. And I did that for a while. I ended up getting a job at a timeshare because I was trying to like I was trying to do the like 9 to 5 thing and just like keep it simple. So I didn't want to be a disappointment.
So you left school.
No, I stayed in school. I would do like part-time.
Okay. All right. Got it. Okay. But then you switched to another school.
And then I switched to another school. So after I got a job at that job, and then I quit that job, well, basically I got fired because I wanted to go and do an audition because Hollywood South started popping and it seemed a little bit more tangible.
Wait, stop. When audition? Like when is this acting audition?
Yeah.
When is we haven't even touched on acting yet. So you're in school, you graduate Newman, you go to college, you don't like it, you switch majors, you get a job. Where's acting fit into that sequence?
My senior year of high school, I got this like extras gig in this movie Ender's Game. And I kept getting upgraded to different. I ended up getting this one line: "Nightmares launchy, keep them to yourself."
Got that
I
SAG
crushed it.
card.
You know what I'm saying? And I ended up being on that set for a while, and I met all these other young actors, and some of them were local actors. And one of the local actors put me with their agent. And so I was like, all right, I'm interested in doing this. So I would go to college, I would go to school, finish school, and then I would go to an acting class so I could start, figuring out how to make this work. And then they would submit me on stuff sometimes. And then when I finally got the timeshare job, they sent me an audition for 12 Years a Slave. And it was like straight to callback. And I was like, well, I never auditioned. So I was like, this is a mistake, but I'm going to go in there anyway and see what's up. And I pulled up. Steve McQueen was there. The casting director, Megan Lewis, was there. And it was me and this other guy, and they just made us improv. Everyone could use their imagination as to what kind of strange improv was happening for 12 Years a Slave.
I don't even need you to repeat it.
Exactly.
Thank you.
After that, I get a call. They call me and they say, you got the job. You start in a couple weeks. And so that was like my first like proper like big gig, and then I dropped out of school.
Got you. Real quick, one sub question to that is, how did you decide to even get the extra job? Like, how did that? I'm just curious. Did you know then that you wanted to act? I don't think you did then, right?
Not yet.
Like, why did you end up even on set as an extra?
So my buddy was like, yo, I'm going to go do this. So what we were doing in high school was that I was interested in like creating. And so I created like a whole network in high school called the G Network, because our like school's mascot was like a gator, and we would call it the Greenies or whatever. And I was like putting on like scripted shows and reality shows and competition shows. And
writing them, creating them.
Yeah, writing them,
starring
and creating them. In some, I wasn't starting. I was just kind of like behind the scenes of them.
Okay.
And I would have my buddy who would like take the footage and edit it, and then we would put it on the website, and every private school in New Orleans would kind of watch it every evening. And then they would like vote, or they would like comment. And so it was just like a community builder. And that was a way for me to like bring in interesting kids who aspired to be like costume designers or fashion designers or photographers and stuff like that. And they would come in and we would kind of collaborate. But he was like my creative like ride or die at the time. And he was like, oh, there's this movie called Ender's Game. Harrison Ford's in it, and Sir Ben Kingsley, Viola Davis. I'm going to go audition to be an extra. You should come. And so I went with them, and that was how I ended up on the movie.
That was it. And then after that, you had your first Why Not Me moment.
Exactly.
Let's lean in. That's fucking incredible. I can't believe I didn't have many conversations with us. I'm surprised I didn't know that. The origin story, literally, of your acting her. That's really fucking cool, man. So now you're a professional actor. You got your SAG card. You're on your journey.
Yeah.
I know you got like a bunch of like kind of like day player roles and bit player roles, right? Mm-hmm. To start. Some shitty show called Underground. I think you had a little something to do.
I love that show.
I loved it too.
Man.
Misha was awesome.
Mm-hmm. So great show. So gracious.
Soon after that, though, maybe like one or two more credits after that, shit got real. Tell me about like life post the bit player role into the first like kind of supporting role or significant like meteor role. Like, talk to me about that part.
It's really crazy. So then I switched schools and I went to University of New Orleans, and I switched majors. I studied film, and I don't tell people that a lot just because I don't know. I just don't tell people that a lot. I'm like kind of like, I'm not a filmmaker, so I don't want people thinking I'm a filmmaker. I'm an actor. I aspire maybe one day. You know what I mean?
Maybe we'll find something to do together. We'll bring that out of you.
Exactly. But yeah, so when I was there, I ended up started doing my supporting roles, day player roles, not like supporting leads, but like just like day players and like weekly stuff and guest stars. And then my manager, James Jolie, hit me up via email because I did Birth of a Nation, and I had 3 lines in the movie, but it was a big deal because, I was like, I can't believe I knew Nate Parker. And I seen his work, and he was one of those like young Black actors that was really out there and just really making interesting choices. And I was really excited to be able to, one, be in proximity to somebody that was closer in age to me, that looked like me, and now was stepping into a directorial seat. And what kind of wisdom could I acquire? But it was like a big confrontation in my house. My dad did not want me to go because I wasn't going to be at church on Sunday. And they was like, who we going to get to play the keys? And so that was a big struggle, you know what I mean? That debate. And my mom really rallied for me in a real way. And I drove out there. I did the callback and the audition, and I ended up getting the part. I shot the movie, and that movie got into Sundance, and it had a big splash.
Biggest selling movie acquired in the history
Yes.
of independent.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And my manager hit me up, and he was like, hey, I'm looking for young Black actors. You were in this movie. He hadn't even seen it yet. And he was just like, but, apparently this movie popping, so let's meet.
Don't knock the hustle. Don't knock the hustle.
Exactly. And at that time, I had just dropped out of college.
Right.
Again. I had a second time. I had a semester left. I was going to get my degree, but I ended up booking this job called Startup in Puerto Rico on a network called Crackle. And I remember being like, what is Crackle?
Who's the cast on that show?
Martin Freeman. Adam Brody and Atmara Marrero.
Atmara, yes. That's what I was thinking of. She's dope.
She's dope. And she's fire in that show.
Yeah.
And I went there, and I was in Puerto Rico, and he was like, oh, let's meet. And I just kind of like bullshitted a bunch about like, I have a lot of people hitting my line right now.
Fake it till you make it.
Fake it till you make it. And he was like, okay, he got real aggressive about it. But then he put me on with my agent at Abrams Artists in LA, and he signed me. And that was kind of the beginning. And then my first, that was, Birth of a Nation was the only thing in Startup. And then my first real big role was this movie called It Comes at Night. And A.V. Kaufman cast it. And I did that with Treya Schultz. And then A.V. hit me up towards the end of that movie and was like, hey, there's this movie called Monster, and I think you should do it. And I remember getting an audition for Monster a year prior. And I was like, I thought the material was so good, but it was hard. And I was like, I'm not right for this. I'm not New York enough. I'm not cool enough. I saw all that imposter syndrome. And I didn't submit the tape. And so when A.V. called, I said, I pass. I said, I'm scared.
Is that true? For those of you, I was one of the producers of Monster.
Yes.
And I'm hearing about this for the first time. That's wild, man.
And I was terrified. I was like, I don't know. And she said, just meet with Anthony. And I said, okay. So I Zoomed with him, and he was so wonderful and he really made me feel safe. Like I could kind of go in and play and discover this in real time with him. And he was like, just come to the screen test. And I was like, okay, cool. So I go, and you were there.
I was there.
Oh,
I remember.
Gosh.
I'll tell you. I don't know if I told you. I think I have told you this before. We won't say the other actor's name. But I was kind of being not fair going into it.
Oh, whoa.
Because I was like, the other kid had a bigger name.
Bigger resume, for sure.
And the Kelvin kid, like, nobody knows this kid. Like, we're trying to tell this story of this young Black boy, and it's going to be a lot of hurdles. Anyway, I just remember you reading, man. I just remember you coming in and just reading, and just like, I was like, God damn it. He's so good. He's so good. And that was it. You turned me instantly. And I went up to you afterwards and talked to you a little bit after, but you turned me instantly. Your talent then was undeniable. So it's incredible to see like the journey from that day forward. But anyway, Monster.
Yeah, it's so cool. I was so grateful for that experience, because that was the first time I felt like I really like put myself out there. You know what I mean? I was terrified. I was excited about something I knew was a big opportunity. And I felt so supported in that room. And it was so scary at first, though, because it was pitch black. It was like you couldn't really see anything except the lights. And it felt like I was in
and
like,
that room was weird.
The room was weird.
Yeah. It was like, I don't even know how to describe it, but
it was like the perfect setup, because then I felt so vulnerable. And that is like Steve in a nutshell, that character.
Totally.
And I was also intimidated because the other actor, too, I was a big fan of.
Right.
And I was like,
he was that dude.
He was that dude. he's that dude, man. He was another one. I was like, oh, he's so cool. He's so cool. But
He is cool.
he
Like,
still
and the other
is.
thing I remember, he was headed to Philly to see Family right after. So I was like,
you like, that's my guy. That's
He's
people.
He's hired. Nah, man, you knocked that shot. And I do, for the record, that was your first leading role.
First leading role. Mm-hmm.
Now, it came out after your sixth leading role by the time we sold the movie and got it out there. But that movie was a journey, man. But you were spectacular. And we were always thankful for Avi for, not giving up on you, quite frankly.
That was so nice to me, too. Y'all took such good care of me, especially you. And that was a big set. There were a lot of big, like, personalities and a lot of big, like, powerful players in the room all the time. Yeah. And I felt like you always just made sure I was comforted and covered throughout that experience.
We formed a really special bond on that movie, dude, that obviously exists to this day. I genuinely look at you like a little brother, and I'm always going to be in your corner, always rooting for you. If I don't talk to you for like 2 or 3 months and I'm watching you win, I'm still grinning cheek to cheek. Yeah, we built something special. So that was a really pivotal moment for me as well.
Respect.
So good for you, man. You're winning now too, which is awesome to see you doing it.
Thanks.
Monster. So what comes after Monster? I know by the time we got to Sundance, you had 3 movies that year.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to me about the idea of like coming from where you're coming from. And it seems like kind of a short window, right? Like,
it was so fast.
And it's like, it's your first fucking Sundance and you have 3 films, right?
Yeah.
Your first one?
I was shocked. It was my first one. First ever.
Yeah.
Because I didn't get invited
you
to
didn't
the
go for birth.
one.
Yeah.
Because I had 3 lines.
Right. You weren't that dude yet.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden you have 3 films, 3 really strong films, all films that sold out of the festival, like 2 of them competing against each other. Like what was going through your brain at that moment? Were you like, you just always have a lot of movies in Sundance and like, this is the life of an actor. It's just whatever. Or did you realize in that moment how unique it was?
Once I got there, everyone started telling me how unique it was. I was still in hustle mode. I was sitting there trying to figure out, okay, well, this is a great first step was my mindset. And I was like, okay, great. Monsters in. That's beautiful. That's an awesome vehicle. And then I think it was Assassination and Monsters and Men.
Assassination of Sam Levinson, right?
Yeah, Sam Levinson. Yeah, and then that Ronaldo Marcus Green movie, Monsters and Men. And so, Avi Kaufman rallied for me for that one.
She's your angel. She's your casting angel, man.
She really is. Three. I see her, and I just have to say thank you every single time because, yeah. But that was huge. That was a huge moment. I was overwhelmed and really intimidated by the experience. I didn't really know. I wasn't prepared for watching audiences watch you embody something that was so personal to you in that moment when you were filming. Because it's such an intimate experience making a movie. The people that are around you pour out love and all their creativity and all their support and their resources. And then it comes together after a long period of time, and now an audience gets to experience that, something that felt so personal, that I felt like it was ours. And I remember being at that premiere, and I sat next to Rocky, A$AP Rocky, who's in the movie, and I was scared too because I was like, man, Rocky really from New York. And I know he did the movie with me, but like, it's one thing to make the movie and another thing for that dude that you know and respect to watch the movie about his hometown for a book that he loved as a child. I was like,
I hope he doesn't think this shit is corny, dog. I hope he doesn't think it's corny, dog. Yeah.
I was sweating bullets in that trench coat. I had on this like pea coat or whatever, and I was trying to style or whatever. It was drenched under there, dog. I was so nervous. And then
but y'all were mad cool though too. Y'all had a great rapport.
He was so
great
cool.
rapport. And that one scene we shot with y'all and JD, John David, right before everything went down.
That was JD's first like movie role.
Ever. We can pick him, dog. We can pick him.
I mean, come on.
But that was like crazy, dude. Like that scene, first of all, what happened, but like I watched y'all and you could tell then that the level of respect was mutual. But for you in particular, having this lead role, like you could see that they were like into it and like excited about the prospects of what were happening, what this movie could be. But they believed in you as an actor as well. I don't think you had anything to be nervous about, although I understand the why. So anyway, you're sitting next to Rocky at the premiere.
Sweating bullets. the movie ends and everybody stands. And that was like, I did not know how to receive that. I couldn't receive that. And I get on that stage and I'm standing there with you and Legend and the cast and Jeffrey Wright, you know what I mean? And Jennifer Hudson.
The
And
original Basquiat.
Right. And I'm just like, I freaked out. I was like, this is not real. This is not something that's for me. I can't receive this. This is, and I remember running afterwards after like not knowing what to do and crying. And like you and John let me stay in his like green room for a second to like collect myself. And then I kept thinking, I was like, my parents should be here. Like what, I did it all wrong. That's what I thought.
You didn't know what you were walking into though.
No idea.
That's wild, man. So you had this moment, you had this experience with all three films, quite frankly. Obviously, Monster really being your movie. And I know you're talking about your hustling and thinking long game, but what was the inspiration coming out of that Sundance for you, like to move forward? Like what was like the takeaway of that propelled you?
Seeing everyone's response made me feel like who I was and what my life experiences and the hard work that my dad put me through. Because what I didn't say about my childhood too was like growing up in that musician home was like, I went to school from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. and then I went to a jazz school from 4 to 6. And then I left home, the school, and then I went home and my dad would still make me practice for 2 to 3 hours. And it was nonstop. And then that still meant Thursday evening prior practice and rehearsals, Saturday practice, Sunday you're playing at the church. In the summers, I went to 3 different jazz camps.
That explains so much, Kelvin.
The discipline was next level. It
also explains why you're so fun now.
Yeah. You got to break free. You know what I'm saying?
Got out of that cage, kid.
Yes, sir. Feeling
good.
But yeah. So when I was thinking about it, in that moment, I was like, everything, it wasn't in vain. I was like, all that time, all that hard work, people are appreciative of it and it's touching people. And I should come in next time I do this with some confidence and really start to try to make it happen.
I could see a switch in your personality too. Like, and I guess it's a testament to that statement right there. Like I saw you kind of become like a man. Like I could see the difference in the room, like just in conversations with you, how you projected your voice differently, just as like regular life. And I'm assuming that taking on that is something you have to do if you want to be great. You have to be comfortable enough in your own skin, at least in these moments, and project that confidence. And I could see that happen with you. Was that like, obviously it was a conscious choice, right? It was something you coached yourself on.
I just was like, I have to step into it. You know what I mean? I was like, this is my opportunity. This is my moment. And I have so many people that have shown me love and that they say they will back me. You were one of them. And to hear people see what people had accomplished, how they navigated the business and their lives, say that they want to support you and be there for you and rally for you as you try to pursue your career. I was like, well, I need to step into it. I can't shy away from it. Like, that's dumb. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that was the move. And then, I just kept working.
And you haven't stopped working. You have not stopped working, bro.
No.
Loose.
No.
Great. Talk about loose. Talk about fucking heavy shit.
That was heavy. It was like shortly after, I had already done Loose before that Sundance, crazy enough.
Oh, I didn't realize it was in the can then. Really?
Because I think it was 2017. So what happened was Monster, and then I did Assassination Nation. And from there, I was just, I was unemployed. And I was like, what's happening? I got really nervous. And then I started spending my money too fast too. And
rookie mistake.
Yeah, trying to figure out LA, trying to be cool, you know what I mean? Whatever. And then I was broke.
That confidence cost you money.
Oh, yeah. And then I went home and I went with my parents for a little bit. And then I got this movie, J.T. Leroy, with Kristen Stewart and Laura Dern.
Yep.
And that came in as an offer. And I was
straight offer.
How? I do not know. I still to this day am so confused.
Do you still audition now? Or is it just mostly offers now? I'm guessing it's mostly offers now.
It's mostly offers now. I like to tell people I still audition because I don't like when people think that like I don't work for it.
Right. You're like, oh no, I'm grinding, dude.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, you are still grinding.
100.
You're always working your craft. But look, man, you earned the right and you've done the work for people to be like, we like what he's got. We're just gonna hopefully let him bless us, right? I mean, that's the grind. That's the grind. It's nothing to be ashamed of, for sure.
Yeah.
So we have another mutual friend that you worked with, Nabil Elderkin.
Nabil. Oh my God.
Talk about acting in a movie that's so intense, Gully, and you have no dialogue.
Oh my God. That movie was hard. That was like, when I read the script and I remember being like blown away that, we were even going to touch on some of those topics.
Mm-hmm.
And I was a fan of Nabil's work as a video director. And I was excited because he's such a chaotic spirit, but in the sweetest way possible. Like he's an artist. He's a true, he's one of those like old school, think about painters kind of artists. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like everything's everywhere all at once kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I came onto it, and at first I was like trying to do the other role, the Jacob Lattimore role.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, no, you could pull off this Jesse role, who is this mute who was taken away from his mom in a laundromat at 7 and kind of kidnapped and living with this white guy in his house who was abusing him. And at that point, I was like, okay, you have to really do some script work because if you don't got no lines, exactly, it happens every now and then. So, I was just trying to, I just was trying to make sure I was staying as present as possible and really using physicality and your scene partners to help you tell the story. And I ended up having a really beautiful friendship with Charlie Plummer and Jacob Lattimore and even Nabil too. He's fun.
I remember coming to set to visit y'all one day, and I hung out with you, Charlie and Jacob, for a little bit, and you could see the camaraderie, you could see like the brotherhood, and then I hung out with Nabil, and it was a beautiful set, beautiful crew, and a really great film. And you have like films like which highlight your singing skills, the high note, right?
Yeah.
Sang a little of that.
Yeah. That was fun.
Was that comfortable for you? Like, I guess, with all the training, you felt pretty good about it? Or was there still that level of like imposter syndrome for singing on camera for what I believe was the first time?
It was the second time because I did Godfather of Harlem as soon as I finished Waves. And because I was like broke again. And then I came up to Godfather Harlem and I was excited about it because Forrest Whitaker was in it. And I thought I was going to get to do a bunch of scenes with Forrest. And I played basically like a Sam Cooke type character. Mm-hmm. It was kind of inspired by Sam Cooke. And I sang in that and I was really nervous there. High note, I was nervous in a different way because I was kind of I was supposed to be this like pop star type character.
Right.
And I didn't really know if I could do it, if I had the voice for it. But I ended up being in the studio with Darkchild. And
that's dope.
That was crazy. That was such a cool experience. And he just bestowed all the wisdom on me and all the like stories about just everybody coming in with that insecurity. And it's just, once again, the craft doesn't change just even in a different medium. It's still about play and just putting yourself out there. So that's what we did.
So you've been on sets with Viola Davis, Sterling K. Brown, Tracy Ellis Ross, like some giants in the business. Have any of them had a specific influence on you in your process? If not them, who, if anyone?
Everyone in different ways, I think I learned how to protect my performance from Jeffrey on Monster.
Jeffrey, right.
I mean, watching him at work and watching the questions he would ask Anthony and watching how he would protect me, even in terms of asking what you need and not being afraid to say that, because if you're doing it to protect the performance and protect the story, no one's going to judge you. If you're doing it to be he also taught me what's the difference between a diva and someone who is a real thespian, an actor, you know what I mean? Right. A storyteller. And that was huge for me. And I think Octavia taught me professionalism, coming to work before your call time, knowing your lines, knowing how to work in a rehearsal, knowing how to build spirit on set and how to be a leader and boost morale.
Huge.
especially when you have a crew that's working sometimes, especially in indies, really crazy hours. And the weight we kind of hold as the face of a particular project. Sterling, once again, he taught me just how to have fun. He was that dude that was just like come in and kill it in the scene and then know how to break character and protect your personal. So many others. I feel like just it's just about watching. It's just watching and witnessing how do they move, while they're at work. How do they carry themselves?
I love that. So Chevalier, that's a different kind of role. And you embodied that, dude. Like your swag in that role was fucking off the charts. At this point in your career, when you get that role and like, I'm assuming moving forward, you now know, right? Like you're an actor, you're good at this shit, right? Like you don't have to second guess yourself anymore.
I wish I still be thinking it sometimes, dog. Like it's one of those things I get there and I'm like, the attitude is different. The attitude though is I come in off top and I go, I could crush this.
Right.
And I tell my team, I'm like, let's get this movie. That was when I had to audition for. And I got the script when I was doing Cyrano. And I was like, this is dope. I can't believe this is a real dude. I met with Steven. Steven was like, you seem like you get the part. And he was like, but I have to like read you because every Black actor in Hollywood wants this job right now. So get to it. And so I did a first tape. It was trash. I did it again. I was in quarantine for Elvis. And I did it on my MacBook. I like did a couple scenes, sent it to him. Steven dug it. And then finally I get out of quarantine. I'm shooting Elvis. And I'm doing like this series of callbacks with Steven on Zoom. And you just saw me, dog. I was literally like doing my DP work, you know what I mean, with the laptop, playing all the characters. I really was working it. But I knew in my heart, I was like, my first instrument was violin. I was a part of this, not a Suzuki program, but something similar as a kid. And I was selected out of like a bunch of kids in the country to perform in this big concert.
Wow.
Where the best string players in the States would kind of come in. And I was first chair.
So you read that script, you're like, violin part.
I was like, that's me.
Check.
I was like, that's me. I got this. Yep. And I fought for it. I wrote Steven a letter, the whole nine, and I finally got it. And when I got there, I was like, wait a second, I got it.
Now I got to do it.
Now I got to do it. That's the scary part. That's when you're being like, I don't know if I could do this.
Yep. That imposter syndrome sneaks back in.
I pulled it through. I pulled it through to the best of my ability. But it was a great experience.
I find that a lot of people, actors in particular, like they can either be like loners and kind of like homebodies into themselves. But I also feel like it's really important to have community, especially when you're younger, you're teens, early 20s, and you're coming up in this like really vicious business. Do you find that like, you mentioned Charlie and Jacob, are there a group of like other young creatives that you can kind of fellowship with and like bounce ideas back and forth with or traumas or whatever those things that are happening in y'all's lives? Like, do you have that? And do you feel it's necessary, like a necessary survival skill in this business?
I think it's definitely necessary. I think it's such a singular and unique kind of path to go down. And I think a lot of people, especially like when I go back home, everyone has an idea of it where it includes just the result of what they see, which is the beautiful movie that's been mixed and edited and color corrected. And, the marketing looks just incredible. Everything just feels so put together. We're on the carpet. Everyone's dressed up in their best designer clothes. And they think that that's just the reality of it when there's so much that's... Exactly. So much.
I always tell people, like, I'm like, you see the carpet and you see all these people in suits and all this stuff, but what you don't see is them walk into the movie theater, which is just a movie theater filled with people in nice clothes. What you don't see is the year, 2 years, 3 years, sometimes more of like nothing glamorous at all except the grind. You're talking about years of work for a 3-hour visual.
That part.
So the bubble, the friends, the fellowship
is so huge. And I think I'm still developing those people, my people. And, to be able to sit there and be able to call somebody and be like, yo, this is going on. What do I do? Or, I'm trying to navigate personal and work. How do I find that balance? Getting people to be like, well, this is what I was working through, or this is what I got going on is always such a reward. And, Tracy's one of those people for me. She's always been there. Anytime I have a question, anytime, we're sitting there being like, all right, this press schedule getting a little crazy, or like, I'm split here, or I got to live here now for a little bit, but what do I do with my other place and all my stuff, small stuff, like,
Yep.
who gonna water my plants?
That shit is real. That's real shit. It's real life. Everyone has their responsibilities. Tracy's great, by the way. And she's a great person to have in your corner, because not only is she living it in her own body and skin, like with her own career. I mean, she's Diana Ross's daughter. I mean, she's seen her whole life, the fishbowl, and like what it's like on the inside, and like looking in. So that's really great, man. So another Why Not Me moment, I think, that's happening for you or in process of happening is, going back to these like old skill sets that you were trying to develop when you first switched into that film program, but now having this great acting career. I know you want to write. I know you want to produce. So you're like in the midst of your Why Not Me moment right now, as far as pivoting into that. What is it about that, like about writing and about producing, that is so exciting to you? It's such an exciting prospect.
I think to me, it's like it goes back to when I was in high school, when I was sitting there just trying to put out content for the kids that I knew, and the kids that I knew were hungry for something. And I think the thing is, it's like I have a lot of friends, and like, I lived in New York, and I lived in Atlanta, and I lived in New Orleans, and I lived in LA. And like, I have so many different, like a mixed bag group of like individuals that I hold near and dear to my heart. And they like different stuff. And I think that made me so excited to be like, all right, I kind of have a little bit of insight on something that I haven't been seeing.
Right.
And I think that these people this is an interesting thing that they're saying they're craving. And so I think I've always had an interest in trying to like satisfy people's taste buds. What are you craving? And if I find myself being around people that are making things happen and constantly developing, or like, I have all these resources now from my hard work. I'm like, well, let me see if I can put myself in a position to do the things that I know my friends are talking about they want to see. Let's make that. And not shying away from it. I was like, because I've realized that unique individual quality about each and every person I come across is what keeps the industry going, really.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What keeps humanity going is constantly like evolving.
Innovation, and evolution.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm like, producing seems cool. It just seems cool. I'm like, let's take the raw materials and make something out of it.
I'll bet on you, bro. I'll bet on you. And you got some really dope shit coming too. Obviously, Basquiat is something that's on your plate. You're doing something with Barry Jenkins, I heard, maybe?
Yeah, we did the Lion King prequel.
Is that shot?
Pretty much.
That's pretty cool. That's like a nice little indie to get to do.
Exactly. Just, a little something, for the kids.
How was it working with Barry, by the way? I mean, he's brilliant.
He's so special, man. He's like, I met him when he was doing If Beale Street Could Talk, and I did a self-tape for that movie, and he loved it. And he was like, Kelvin, I was got to get on a flight today to go on vacation, but I saw your tape, and I got to meet you. Can you come meet me right now at some restaurant? And I got up and I went immediately to the restaurant, and we just talked for like a few hours. And he was just like, man, I really want this to work. And, the movie, it didn't end up working out. Stephan James got it, and he's wonderful in it. And, Barry wrote me this beautiful letter being like, one day we'll get to do something together, but we will find the right thing. And I never thought it would be Lion King.
Well, yo, shit. If that's the right thing.
Yeah. Hopefully it's something else too down the line, Barry, if you ever listen to this. But Lion King has been dope. It's been dope. Yeah.
And what about Basquiat? I mean, I have a real passion and affinity for Basquiat. We're doing our thing on Broadway.
Yes.
Have you been able to like lean into that yet? Or is your schedule allowed you to kind of really lean in, or?
I try to make a little bit of time every chance I get. So if I'm sitting around doing nothing and I watch too much, like my favorite show is Big Brother, which is a competition show. If I'm not doing, I'm like, all right, I've been watching Big Brother for about 2 hours. I should probably go do something else. And it would be like, I'll read a book about Jean Michel, or I'll paint, or, I will watch a documentary, or just sit and just journal and think about him, because the time will come when the movie's ready to be made. And all these hours and every minute that I put into it, I think I'll be able to use when the day comes. So, and I'm going to Tokyo this week.
You are?
Yeah, I'm going to Tokyo next week to go visit some people. And my whole thing with John Michel is trying to go in every country he's ever visited, every place he's ever been to. I want to go touch down and just see what he was seeing and experience and meet some people that he knew and hear their stories firsthand. And, I went to Amsterdam and met the last photograph ever taken of him. I found that photographer and he took a picture of me.
No
and
shit.
I got to spend the day with him and talk to him. I met his art dealer, Bruno Bischenberger, in Switzerland. I went and he showed me everything that they ever made together. And, I just keep meeting all these people from Andy's life and John Michel's. And so that's been such a huge experience. And we're going to see what we could do with it,
The photo that he took of you, was it when you had the dreads and all that? The locks?
Yeah.
So that matched the
Yeah, it's close-ish. You know what I mean? And
do you have it?
I do have the photo. I
want to see that.
I'll send it to you, yeah.
Yeah, I definitely want to see that. Well, listen, we're going to wrap this up in a second, but I do have a few more questions for you, but a little more fun stuff.
Yeah.
I used to love this show called The Actor's Studio with James Lipton, and he would always
God.
ask a bunch of great questions at the end.
So good.
So I'm ripping right from him off the top. What's your favorite curse word, Kelvin Harrison Jr.?
I'm dead.
I'm dead is not a curse word.
What's my favorite curse word? Damn. I really think it's that simple. It's really because it works for everything. You can be like, you look at somebody that look good, damn. You look at somebody do something stupid, damn. You know what I mean? You be like, that was dope, damn.
It's almost like John.
Mm-hmm.
It's got that different,
Yes, multifaceted little curse word. Yeah, exactly.
Damn it. Damn right.
Exactly. Damn straight.
Damn Skippy.
Exactly.
Celebrity crush. Now, I'm going to put a caveat on that. Celebrity crush before you're in the business, like young Kelvin growing up, and now current celebrity crush.
Growing up, it was Brandy. Loved Brandy. Everything about Brandy. I just thought she was so beautiful and so talented. And just like, I love her voice. I love that like little ashy kind of quality to it. That was cool.
She went to my high school prom. Not my prom, but my high school. Kobe Bryant went to my high school.
Whoa.
So he's younger than me.
You got one of those schools like me.
Brandy was his prom date. Yeah.
Whoa.
When he was a senior in high school. So Brandy went to the Lower Marion High School prom back in the day.
That's
Kobe Bryant.
crazy. That's crazy.
Look, we all have our time on this earth, right? And we try to be the best humans we can be. When it's your time, when you arrive at the pearly gates, what do you hope you hear God or whomever you believe in? What do you hope that you hear them say to you upon arrival, right before they let you through, hopefully?
Thank you for staying true. And that, I feel like that would be pretty big for me, that I didn't like compromise or didn't like just do something for the sake of, but that I did things that meant something to me, and I was surrounded by people that meant something to me.
So, by the way, I have to go back to my last question because I didn't ask you about your current celebrity crush. I forgot. You said Brandy was the past one.
Celebrity crush.
Be careful.
I know, right? I'm going to just go for the one that I feel like is super easy. Beyonce. I love me some Beyonce. I love her.
There's no black man on the planet that can't say Beyonce, or at least Halle Berry if you're a little older.
Exactly. Halle Berry is another great one.
But there's got to be some young, maybe not call it a crush, but like who's like that chick, like that young, like 20s, 30s chick, like maybe it's the girl Taylor you worked with. I don't know, like, but someone like who's just like embodies like, I'm up next.
Yeah, I will say Taylor is that girl. Taylor is that girl because she's smart. Mm-hmm. She's so talented. She is so well read, and she's beautiful. Mm. And she's very smart in terms of what she's choosing to do with like the theater thing she's doing right now, the movies. I like a girl that you can sit down and you can just listen to them talk about all these things, and they can just keep you entertained.
And it's not just about the beauty at that point. It's about the depth, right?
And exactly, you get the depth, and then you feel full. And then you get like, all right, I'm so full, I'm stuffed. And then I just get then I can just look how pretty she is.
Right. And she's gorgeous. Do you want to do Broadway?
Oh, I do. I 100%.
Musical or just a straight play?
I want to do a straight play first because I think everyone would assume I would do the musical. Right. But I also want to do a musical one day.
All right. One other thing I want to ask you, and then I will be done, is you worked with one of the most iconic directors ever, Baz Luhrmann.
Yeah.
What's a Baz Luhrmann set like? Is it like frenetic and crazy, or is he pretty like?
It's crazy. It's crazy. Like Baz is like just a day in a life. You get a call. He's sending you a guitar. He says, "Just practice, have fun. I'll see you tomorrow." And then you get there, and he does not want to use the guitar. He's actually gonna say, "Let's go in the trailer. Let's rewrite the scene. What are you guys thinking? What's coming from your gut?" And then you say, "Actually, let's rehearse it, and then we'll just go home." And then you come back the next day, then you shoot the scene, but only a portion of it. Because he wants to sit there and mingle with the extras because he's like, I'm creating characters. And so it's like, the process is insane, but it feels so fun. Like it is the purest form to me of like what that whole theater and like the performance and play feels like is it's great energy, great energy.
That's awesome. So now you have all the success, you have all these relationships with incredible creatives. You're acting, you're doing music, you're doing all this dope shit. Is your dad proud? Is he glad your mom talked him into saying yes?
Yeah, they definitely listen. They still will always be very tough critics because they want to push. They want to push you to be the best you could be. But there's moments where I definitely, the man watches every movie 10 times over. If I call him now, he's probably watching Chevalier. So that's just how it goes. So I think I'm going to take that as a sign that he's really proud, both of them.
But it is pride, right? It's not like he's going to be critiquing your shit. Like,
Nah. He's so proud. He's so excited, He even says it inspires him he started gigging again. Man. He stopped for a while, but he just did his first gig again at the Snug Harbor in New Orleans. And he was like, I just think about you.
His firstborn. Got him back in the grind.
I'm carrying that Kelvin Harrison name better than he did.
Yo, say that shit again. Don't listen. I meant your daddy.
I'm carrying it.
I meant your daddy. He ain't gonna let you slide that.
He not, boy.
Little bro, thank you.
Appreciate you, big bro.
I appreciate you, man.